Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, the voice of bodybuilding. And tonight we are in for a solo episode. I'm actually repping the new brand, the SPB. And if you're on the YouTube, you would have seen my AI camera there go all over the place. But I just want to start by giving a huge shout out to Carly for gifting me this hoodie and for the tribe up where you are. I know that some of you guys will be listening, and Carly has spread the word about the podcast. So thank you for everyone in that area of the world for tuning in. Now, as you'll see by the title of this episode, we are going to be talking about the stage will always be there. Now, there's a multitude of reasons why I wanted to jump on and record this mini episode, particularly around a lot of conversations that I'm actually having in the space at the moment. And some of you guys will be the conversations that I've actually had. And for sure, for me, you know me, guys, I want to always bring truth to the bodybuilding world. And I always want to bring truth to your ears and resonate with you. And for a lot of you, you are in a space where at the moment it's like, is the stage, is that the right time for me? Should I be continuing on to a prep if that's in the plan? Should I be doing a longer off season? What do I do as a competitor? And for sure, we can certainly find a lot of identity in bodybuilding. We very quickly become the bodybuilder. And you know my story, guys, if you listen to the podcast and you follow me on social media, it's at times a heavy label to carry. And what I'm going to say is, guys, is that label is often associated to within finding your purpose, finding something that truly brings existence to your being. And this is the thing, guys, if you're anything like me, you've come from a background of not really knowing who you are, which will resonate with a lot of people in life. You've come from a background where maybe you weren't, good at lots of things as a child. Maybe you didn't fit in. And then you find this magical thing called bodybuilding. And it truly is, it's magical because what we can do in this space, the physique development, the mindset development is truly a gift. And this is something that I, talk about a lot, the gift of bodybuilding. When you've come from nothing and you do find this purpose, it truly can bring so much to your life. And when we relate this to the stage, you can often feel like your purpose is tied into that stage. Who am I if I'm not getting ready to compete? Who am I? Who am I as a human being? And we're often faced with this question. And that can be for a multitude of reasons. You could be knee deep in a prep and be thinking, is this what I should be doing? Is this the right time for me? And we're seeing an increase in competitors in the bodybuilding space. We're seeing an increased demand from the different categories. There's a lot of different federations. There's a lot of different pressures. That's internal and external. And that includes social media, and there's certainly times throughout my bodybuilding career where I've very much been fueled by the interactions I have on social media, right? And of course, my seasons, my 7 seasons, were very much fueled by the trauma I have been through in my life. And bodybuilding offered me that purpose. But did that tie into social media playing a part of feeling validation from the external world? Absolutely, guys. I'm not going to sit here and lie about that. Does it feel good to be saying, I'm in a prep, sharing the stories, sharing the posts, getting leaner, being driven by that? It feels fucking phenomenal. But what I have certainly learned is that embracing off season also feels phenomenal. And you're going to hear this on Monday's episode. Would I have been able to heal my relationship with food, with my body, with scale weight, with all of the things that we can come across as bodybuilders if I hadn't have been forced out of bodybuilding by having major surgery? I don't hands down believe that I would have been able to heal what I needed to heal to be the best bodybuilder in my mind that I am to date. And that has come with taking time to do that. Now, when do we find the time to heal, guys? Because this sport, this endeavor is all consuming. It is. You know, if you're listening and you hear me say that and it resonates, you know, every day we are trying our absolute best to facilitate progression. But a question to you that I have: what is progression for you as a person as well as a bodybuilder? What are the reasons you are pursuing this sport? And this is something I actually started my recent ebook with that has now been launched. What is your why? Because your why can change. It absolutely can. We get into this sport for whatever reason it is. Maybe you're not even sure, and it's like, I just found this thing and suddenly I'm a competitor. But revisiting your why is very, very important because this episode in itself, the stage will always be there. What can affect you go into stage, right? So maybe you have plans to go to stage. What are the things that can come up? So we can have medical issues. We can have personal circumstances. So whether that's something that's happened to you, so maybe your work, something like this, or is it a family member? Is there something like finances that have come into the mix? There's a multitude of things that can happen. But also, guys, if you're in a prep or you're going to embark on a prep and your mental health is not in a good space when it comes to the bodybuilding, is this the right decision? Are you funneling something else into bodybuilding and embarking on a prep and doing a prep for a reason that is actually going to be detrimental to you potentially during this prep or after? Because it's us that has to deal with that. You know, you can step on stage, but what comes after that? What comes after that? What comes after your season? When your season ends and you're still the same person dealing with the same mental health struggles that you were when you started or you were knee deep in the prep. And this is going to be so person dependent. You know, I'm aware that there's thousands of you listening across the world and we all have different things going on. And actually, prep can offer structure, the tunnel vision, the positives of bodybuilding, right? It can really fuel you to actually have something to aim for. And the goal of stage is something that I truly, truly credit. But let's look at the different scenarios that we're facing. Because if there's something that I've already mentioned that is potentially having an impact on your prep, we have honest decisions to make with ourselves and communications with our coach. So if there's something that is affecting your prep, and this is where we always have that choice, guys. If you step on stage and you could have done more, you've not been able to follow your plan, does that mean that your expectation of what you present on stage needs to change? And quite possibly it does. If you're going to still step on stage, but you haven't been able to commit to your prep plan as fully as you plan to, then that can contribute to the post-show period as well. If you find yourself in these cyclical phases of prep and very short off seasons, but you've been told that you need to improve your physique, you need to come back with more muscle, better stage presence, better posing in general. you need to improve as an athlete, but you're not able to get out of this cycle of continuously prepping, are you gonna achieve from a competitive bodybuilding standpoint? Or are you gonna step on stage multiple times and look the same, potentially look worse because of the physiological effects of multiple preps? Is that gonna fulfill your desire? And does that align with your why? Because we know, right, that when you are prepping back to back, if you're having short off seasons, we know it's going to take time to build quality muscle tissue. We know taking time out of a deficit is what we need to do to physiologically repair, mentally repair, and then be able to actually present an improved physique on stage. But if we're in these continual loopholes because we're not addressing things outside of that, maybe we're being pressured by social media, ourselves, people in our lives, it's going to be very hard to improve our physique. Now, that's not me saying that, you need to do a long off season like I did 2.5 years, but that's me saying, what is your why? And if you've had judges' feedback to be able to improve your physique, is there more time in the off season needed? And is the title of this episode something that needs to be thought about? Because the stage will always be there. It will always be there. There are so many shows in the UK. We are inundated with federations. There's a hell of a lot of opportunities. And if you're not taking that time to build the quality muscle tissue you need to, or work on things like your posing, are you going to go back, do a prep, and have improved? That's a question only you can ask. And that's an important part of this topic today. Are you doing this for the right reasons? Because if you are, there's going to need to be work done in an off season to be able to facilitate your progress. Now, when we look at the other things that could potentially mean that right now, prep is not the right decision for you, that the stage is not the right destination for you right now. So, if we look at this from a health standpoint, so if you are looking to embark on a prep or you're already on a prep and a health concern comes up, something comes up that essentially means that you're going to need to pull away from doing a prep. Where does that leave you? And this is a difficult scenario to be in because there are certain things in a prep setup that you can absolutely continue to prep, but there's going to need to be adaptations to potentially your training, your nutrition, and what is the knock-on effect to your show. Because I know, I've had multiple preps. Pretty much all of my preps, there's definitely been a challenge. And it's normally, I sort of joke about this in jest, but it's normally about 4 to 6 weeks out, something quite dramatic happens. And, to name a few, to resonate with you guys, I've fractured my ankle, I've fractured my elbow, I've had nerve damage in my arm, I've been through a divorce 4 weeks out. These are a multitude of things. Obviously, the divorce is not a medical condition, but I still continued my prep and adaptations had to occur. Now, this is the thing, right? Is it wise to do that? Some of those injuries, probably it wasn't wise to do it, but my mindset wouldn't let me not, and I continued the preps, and could I have presented a better physique? Potentially. The one that I will verge this into is when I was getting divorced and I made that decision 4 weeks out from a show. I absolutely did not bring my physique to its best to stage. I absolutely did not. But I was hell bent on continuing the prep because I was so far in, right? I'm 4 weeks out. It's like I'm beating this drum. I am not letting this go. And my coach actually said to me, you're not going to bring your best physique to stage. And I was like, I don't care. I'm still doing this. I was riddled with edema on my lower portion of my body. I couldn't train legs. I couldn't do my cardio. My steps were, really, really difficult. And I was not in a good place. But at the time, I was like, I'm not fucking giving into this. I'm fine. I'm fine. And when I stepped on stage, it didn't feel good. It did not feel good to not present my best physique. It felt very difficult to step on stage knowing that I wasn't in the condition that I would want to be in, that I hadn't matched previous condition. It felt very, very difficult for me to accept that I was far away from the mark because I had a personal life, pretty monumental change going on, right? I was with my ex-husband. We were married for 3 years. I was with him for 11 years, right? I had a mortgage. I had two dogs. I had a life that I was walking away from, but I continued to prep. And the reason I share that a little bit more in this episode is that when you step on stage, not at your best, I'm going to tell you guys, it does not feel good. It does not feel good. It took away everything from the show day because I just felt like I shouldn't be there. So should, in hindsight, I have made the decision that aligned with what my coach said and to not compete? Yes. I shouldn't have competed. But I was funneling trauma. I was funneling trauma into the stage. And what did I do after that? I had a the post show was very, very difficult with mental health challenges, and I had a really hard off season. What did I do? I went back into a prep after 10 months of an off season. Was it long enough? No, it wasn't. In that 10 months, I moved house multiple times. I was lost, guys. I was alone. I was vulnerable, scared, traumatized. I was dealing with, selling a house, getting divorced, two of the worst stressful things that you can go through as a human being. And then I went into the last prep that I did before going into this current diet phase, 4 weeks into meeting Matt, and it was a fucking savage prep. And coming out the back of that last season, it was like, enough's enough. Enough is enough. I was riddled with food pathologies, the body image issues, weighing myself multiple times a day, all of the things that we can get into. And what needed to happen, guys, I needed to own my fucking bullshit because I was fed up of being institutionalized by my own thoughts of the negative thought processes, fueled by a passion to excel as a bodybuilder, right? My why, what is my why? To explore physique development. And that's always been my why. It will always be my why. But I had the opportunity to commit to a longer off season and also take you and my social media follows on that journey. All of my followers that have been able to stay loyal to me and follow the journey of embracing off season and feeling good in my skin. Before I started this diet phase, I was like, this is quite weird, this feeling to go back into a diet phase. I'm flourishing here. 2 years and 3 months, and I'm loving my curves. I'm loving my body fat. I'm loving my gains, my muscle gains. I don't have the food pathologies I did. I'd challenge my narrative and not weigh myself for a week. It's a number on the scales, guys. I'm in off season. I'm following the plan. I don't need to. What a breath of fresh air. But if I hadn't have had the surgery in the middle there, I would have prepped last year. I absolutely would have because I'm Sarah that preps. I'm Sarah that can get lean. I'm Sarah that can pursue bodybuilding. I run a podcast called The Voice of Bodybuilding. Who am I without the stage? Who am I, guys? I'm Sarah and I love bodybuilding. And the reason I share this, guys, is because you are more than the stage. You are training, you are building nutrition habits, you're posing, you're getting excited by the pursuit. All of those things that I've spoken about, the hang-ups, the pathologies, the detrimental thoughts and behaviors that I was exhibiting, I needed to step back. And if we're not able to own it and realize what's going on in here in our head, that actually over time could zap that passion for bodybuilding. It could kill that passion and you become a robot. You become a robot with no feelings, you know? It blew Matt's mind the lengths I went to in the last prep because he was like, you're literally a robot, you know? You just do. And that's all I knew, guys. That's all I knew. And a lot of credit goes to Matt for showing me what true love is and that changed the game for me. And I'm not saying you need to find someone to change your narrative, but I need to bring you back to why are you doing this? Why are you going to stage? If your feedback is that you need to progress, that you need to do all of the things that I've already mentioned, then is 4 months or 6 months long enough from stage? Is it? Then we put this in tandem with, is that long enough to heal food pathologies? Maybe a food disorder if this has happened. A very, very sensitive subject, guys, you know? It's something I reflect on a lot. Did I have a food disorder? Was it food pathologies? Recently I've asked that question a lot because I believe it was a lot of obsessive tendencies and pathologies. But could that be classed as a food disorder? Potentially, yes. Does that scare the shit out of me? Yes, it does. And I want to offer that hope. I really do. Because it is possible to be able to work on your mind, but you have to give yourself permission to step back. And what is that process? What does that entail? And what I'd recommend, guys, is thinking about the bodybuilding fundamentals and what that offers you. So, do you like training? Do you like monitoring your food? Do you like having a step target, a hydration target, supplement target? Okay, guess what? You're a bodybuilder, right? So, those labels that I spoke about at the start, the identity of being a bodybuilder. Well, you're a bodybuilder, right? You don't need to prove anything to anyone because you're a walking, talking bodybuilder. The fundamentals don't go. If you face challenges in life where the fundamentals are compromised, you can more than likely stick to at least a few of them, right? So you can still have a sleep routine. You can still more than likely monitor your nutrition. If you can't train, being able to do your sleep, your supplements, your food. Muscle doesn't just disappear. Of course, over time, if we're looking at more than 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to see muscle atrophy potentially. If you're assisted, you've got that on your side and it's going to be less so. But, with my surgery, absolutely, I had atrophy. But is that fuel to come back when you can train? Is that fuel to stick to your rehab and be able to build your physique back up? Yes, it is. Because there's no limit on this, right? We can still pursue this for as long as we want to. But can we pursue it if mentally we are unwell? Is that over time going to chip away at you and hold you back from being the best bodybuilder you can be? Gaining support in this realm is important, and I understand that's not always possible. Depending on your coach, depending on how much you want to be coached and how much you're going to let your coach help you, that is going to be determining factors. It might be that you need additional support outside of your bodybuilding coach, and that can take a hard amount of ownership to do that because the thought process of, right back at the start where I say going into a prep, I've had a lot of conversations recently of people that are like, I don't think this is the time for me to prep. I'm not in the position to prep, whether that's financially, mentally, personal circumstances. You can absolutely spend time adhering to the bodybuilding principles and still progress. You do not need to do a prep to validate your bodybuilding. That is still you. You are allowed to take the amount of time that you want to. And anyone else outside of this that is saying that you have to do a prep, quite frankly, fuck them. If you have an individual reason that is telling you you should not be prepping right now, this is important that you stay true to you. Because if you start a prep, you get into a prep, and it's been the wrong decision, that is going to come back and bite you in the arse. Is it also going to lead to you enjoying the prep and enjoying the show day? Is it going to bring you to your best stage? Because remember, guys, when you step on stage, the judges don't know your story. And really, they're just judging your physique, right? And, when I stepped on stage and I'd just gone through a divorce and been through hell and back, the judges don't care about that. They don't know what it took me to be able to get on that fucking stage, nor should they. They're there to do a job. And that's the difficulty sometimes because it feels brutal. It feels absolutely brutal because you can step on stage and you've been to fucking hell and back and you could not place. And you've then got to go home and go, shit, okay, I'm still here. I'm still here dealing with this shit. And I went to stage and I knew I could have done better. I knew I could have done better. And that's a difficult scenario to be in. And this is why I want to do this episode to thought provoke, to be in your ears, for you to have things to think about, to go, what is my why? Am I being true to that? And it's important to explore that, to be honest with that. Because if you need to change the direction, guess what, guys? Bodybuilding is adaptable. You can change the direction at any given time. You have permission to do that if you give permission to yourself, because that's an important message here. It starts with you and it's from within. There's nothing to stop you supporting your friends doing it, going to shows, being able to still immerse in the bodybuilding world, or on the flip side, to take a step back and take some time out. Because if the external pressures are too much, give yourself time, give yourself space. Those that are with you during this time and you can explore the honest decision you've made, that's your circle. They're your people. I might be one of those people, guys. I have people listening to this podcast that reach out to me, and the bonds that I've got with you guys mean fucking everything to me. It really, really does. I'm here. I'm with you, and I'll continue doing my best to offer you as much as I possibly can.